What if the reason you keep feeling stuck isn't because life is unfair, but because you haven't yet learned what life has been trying to teach you? There comes a time, right before a breakthrough, when the noise of the world becomes unbearable. When to-do lists, the deadlines, the expectations of others, all feel like a weight dragging your soul down. And in that moment, you don't need another productivity hack. You need wisdom, not the kind found in textbooks, but the kind whispered by time, echoed by sages, and carved into the scars you carry quietly in your heart. 2025 won't be different just because the calendar flips. It will be different if you are. But for that to happen, there are some lessons you must learn. Not later, not someday, now. What if the life you're longing for isn't ahead of you, but already within you, quietly waiting for you to notice? The truth is, most people don't suffer from a lack of time or talent. They suffer from a lack of alignment. They chase what glitters, ignore what grounds them, and forget that the most profound lessons are rarely loud. They are silent, subtle, patient. In 2025, your life won't magically change just because you write down resolutions. It will change when you begin to embody timeless truths, not trends, not noise, but real, lived wisdom that begins with stillness. Not the passive kind where you sit and wait for life to happen, but the kind of stillness that invites you back to yourself. A stillness so rich, it silences the static of comparison, doubt, and fear. Laozi once said, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." Most people never hear the voice of their own soul because they're too busy running from silence. They fill every pause with noise, scrolling, streaming, scrolling again, distracting themselves from the very discomfort that could heal them. But stillness isn't a punishment. It's a portal. It is in the quiet that we remember who we are, not who the world told us to be. In the coming year, don't just fill your days. Feel them. Breathe before reacting. Sit with yourself before seeking someone else. You are not behind. You are simply being invited to slow down, because what you're meant to become requires a deeper foundation. And as you slow down, something else becomes possible: letting go. We live in a culture obsessed with acquisition, more goals, more status, more validation. But the wisest souls will tell you that real transformation often begins with release, with surrender, with loosening your grip on the very things you once prayed to have. Confucius taught, "He who chases two rabbits catches neither." And yet we try. We run in 10 directions, hoping one will lead us to peace. But peace doesn't come from chasing. It comes from clarity, from knowing what to walk away from. Letting go is not a weakness. It's power. It's knowing that holding on to what is not meant for you, whether a relationship, a habit, or a belief, only delays your evolution. What if the very thing you're afraid to release is the anchor holding you back from flight? In 2025, choose lightness. Travel through the year like a soul unburdened. Let go of the guilt that no longer serves you, the narrative that says you're not enough, the need to prove your worth to people who haven't earned the right to witness your becoming. When you release what is heavy, you create space for what is holy. And from that space, something even greater can emerge: self-trust. One of the most radical things you can do in a noisy world is become your own standard, not your job title, not your appearance, not the opinions that fluctuate with the weather. You, your principles, your truth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Imagine a life built on that kind of honesty. A life where you don't shrink to make others comfortable. Where your yes means yes and your no means no. Where you no longer abandon yourself to belong to others. When you live like that, something shifts. You stop being pulled by the currents of the external world, and you begin to move from the still waters within. You stop outsourcing your value. You start living in integrity, and integrity is a force. It may not be flashy, but it is magnetic. It draws to you what is meant for you and repels what isn't, without you needing to force a thing. Becoming your own standard doesn't mean rejecting feedback or community. It means knowing who you are before the world tells you who to be. It means making decisions based not on what is easy, but on what is true. It's refusing to betray your intuition for temporary comfort. So in 2025, let your values guide you, not your fears. Let your character be the loudest thing about you. You don't need to chase recognition when you are rooted in truth. You don't need to wear masks when you've come home to yourself. And maybe that's the deepest lesson of all, coming home. All these teachings, stillness, surrender, self-trust aren't about becoming someone new. They're about peeling back the layers of noise, ego, and expectation until you return to the essence of who you were always meant to be. The child who used to dance without fear. The teenager who dreamed without limits. The version of you that still believes in possibility, even if the world has tried to make you forget. 2025 doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the real one, the honest one, the one who has learned from pain but has not become bitter, the one who carries scars but still chooses to love, the one who no longer waits for permission to live fully, because life will never slow down and offer you the right moment. There is no later, no perfect time to begin again. There is only one now, and this moment, right here, is sacred. It's the space between who you were and who you're about to become. So listen, not with your ears, with your soul. Can you hear it? The whisper of a wiser life. It's not noisy. It's not in a rush. It's not perfect. It's in the lessons waiting patiently beneath your struggles. It's in the courage to let go, to go slow, to say no. It's in the quiet knowing that you are already enough and always have been. Let these truths settle into your heart, because from this foundation, the reflection begins. We spend our lives chasing answers, books, mentors, strategies, hoping someone, somewhere, will finally hand us the key to unlock our best life. But sometimes, wisdom isn't about adding more. Sometimes it's about subtracting, stripping away the noise, the excess, the illusions. And in that sacred bareness, you don't find more control. You find more truth. Because the truth is, the lessons we seek are already etched into our everyday lives. They aren't locked away in ancient temples or buried under centuries of philosophy. They are in the heartbreaks we endured quietly, in the late nights we spent questioning our worth, in the silent victories no one saw but us. Life isn't hiding the answers, it's whispering to them, again and again, waiting for us to finally listen. Think back. How many times have you been led by fear, choosing what felt safe instead of what felt right? And how often has that safety come at the cost of your spirit? We are taught to play small, to compromise, to pick the path that doesn't shake the ground too much. But growth is not quiet. Awakening is not polite. And the best version of you won't be born in your comfort zone. It will rise from the ashes of who you were told to be. Stillness taught you presence. Letting go taught you freedom. Self-trust taught you alignment. But what binds them all together is the courage to live honestly with yourself, with others, with life. We live in a world of performance. Smile when you're breaking. Achieve when you're exhausted. Post the highlight reel and edit out humanity. But life is not a curated feed. It's raw. It's unpredictable. It's deeply imperfect. And that's where its beauty lies. Do you want 2025 to be different? Then dare to show up as you are. Not as an image, but as a soul. Dare to be the person who chooses rest over hustle when your body begs for peace. Who chooses depth over convenience, truth over trend, meaning over approval. That kind of honesty is rare, but it is healing. Because when you begin to live honestly, something profound happens. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, what feels true. And that one shift changes everything. You begin to trust your intuition again. You begin to reclaim your time. You begin to move through the world not with anxiety, but with quiet certainty. And when you live from that space, you notice how different life becomes. You no longer tolerate relationships that drain your spirit. You stop participating in patterns that keep you small. You begin to create, not to impress, but to express. You begin to choose, not out of fear, but out of intention. This is not about perfection. It's not about having every day figured out. It's about choosing to stay awake, to stop sleepwalking through your days, and to start engaging with life as if it matters, because it does. It matters how you speak to yourself in the mirror. It matters what you tolerate. It matters how you treat people who can offer you nothing in return. It matters whether you live by reaction or by reflection. And it matters that you finally realize you are not here to simply get through the year. You are here to become the kind of person who makes every year feel sacred, because your presence is sacred. Your attention is sacred. Your life is sacred. No moment is too small. No choice is too ordinary. Every step you take, every habit you break or build, sends a message to the universe about who you are becoming. So move with awareness. Speak with care. Love with depth. And if you fail, fail forward. Fall, then rise softer, wiser, stronger. Don't wait for life to slow down to find meaning. Create the meaning. Shape it with your hands, with your words, with the way you choose to carry yourself when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That applies to you. Don't debate whether this is your year. Make it so. Don't wait for someone to rescue you from the weight of your own life. Begin to carry it differently, with grace, with dignity, with purpose, and you'll begin to notice your external world will shift in quiet response to your internal changes. The chaos will soften, the noise will seem less convincing, and the path ahead, though still uncertain, will feel less threatening, because you are no longer walking it blind. You are walking it awake. Let this year not be about proving anything to anyone. Let it be about coming into harmony with your own soul. Let it be about sitting in silence and finally hearing your own wisdom speak. Let it be about closing the gap between the life you dream of and the life you live, and doing it not with pressure, but with presence. Because when your life aligns with your truth, everything begins to flow. You don't need to chase, you attract. You don't need to force, you allow it. You don't need to shout. Your peace becomes the loudest thing about you. This is how you make 2025 your best year yet. Not by controlling everything, but by learning from everything. By reflecting deeply, loving freely, releasing bravely, and showing up fully. And slowly, something begins to shift. The anxiety loosens, the urgency fades, and in its place, clarity, a quiet knowing, a deeper trust in the unfolding. You begin to realize the best version of you was never some distant goal to chase. It was always a home to return to. And now, as you stand in that reflection, no longer rushing, no longer resisting, you are ready. Not for a perfect life, but for a deeply honest one. And from here, the path forward begins to glow with a new light. One step, one breath, one lesson at a time. So here you are, no longer running, no longer pretending, simply standing in the quiet truth of your own becoming. And in this stillness, something ancient stirs within you, a recognition, a remembrance, that life was never about reaching some final destination. It was always about returning to yourself, to your essence, to the soul you were before the world told you who to be. The year ahead is not a mountain to conquer, it's a garden to tend, It doesn't demand you to sprint. It invites you to root deeply, fully, and to trust that what grows from this soil, when watered with wisdom, will bloom in its time. Not rushed, not forced, but sacred in its unfolding. Growth, real growth, doesn't look like fireworks. It often looks like quiet decisions made in the dark, choosing presence when distraction is easier, kindness when bitterness feels justified, and courage when fear screams louder. You don't need a revolution. You need a rhythm, a steady return to the values you hold, the boundaries you keep, and the light you refuse to let go of. Because you now know, from the stillness you've touched and the lessons you've lived, that fulfillment doesn't live in the grand moments. It lives in the daily ones, in how you rise each morning, even on days you feel heavy, in how you speak to the people you love, in how you carry yourself when no one claps for you. These are not small things. They are everything. They are your life. And perhaps the most important realization of all. You don't need to be extraordinary to live an extraordinary life. You simply need to live truthfully, fully, freely. You don't need to know all the answers. You only need to keep asking better questions. Questions like, does this bring me peace? Am I honoring myself? Is this love or is this fear? That's how you build a year and a life you're proud of. Not by being fearless, but by facing your fears with open eyes and a steady heart. Not by chasing success, but by redefining it. Less about what you accumulate, more about what you become. Because what you become is the only thing no one can take from you. We are not here to be perfect. We are here to be real, to be cracked open by life and still rise softer. To let our struggles shape us, not shame us. To understand that every wound, every misstep, every heartbreak was not a punishment, but a preparation. Preparing you to be deeper, wiser, kinder. You carry all of it with you now. The stillness, the letting go, the trust, the reflection. You are no longer a stranger to yourself, and that is the real transformation. Not the change of circumstance, but the change of consciousness. You don't just move into 2025 with new goals. You move forward with a new gaze, and through this gaze, everything looks different. Time is no longer an enemy, but a sacred currency. You don't waste it proving your worth. You invest it in people, in purpose, in presence. You no longer fear solitude. You honor it, because you've discovered that peace is not found in the absence of others. It's found in the presence of self. You stop comparing your path to others. You walk yours with reverence, knowing that the soil beneath your feet was meant just for you. You forgive more easily, not because others always deserve it, but because you do. You deserve the freedom of an unburdened heart. You release your need to be understood by everyone, because you've begun to understand yourself. And that is enough. And in this space, this sacred space, you finally see what you couldn't before, that every detour was part of the design, that nothing was wasted, that the version of you standing here now, at the edge of a new year, is the living proof that healing is possible, that change is real, and that hope, no matter how many times it's been buried, always finds a way to rise. 2025 is not your escape, it's your canvas. Paint it not with perfection, but with presence. Fill it not with noise, but with meaning. Let every brushstroke be guided by the truth you've earned through living, not just learning. This year will not define you. You will define it, not through control, but through alignment. Not through hustle, but through harmony. By returning again and again to the compass within the one that always knew the way, even when you didn't trust it. And when the days get heavy, as they sometimes will, when doubt creeps in and old patterns try to resurface, remember this: you've already begun, you've already shifted, you've already chosen to live with more depth, more clarity, more intention. And that choice, repeated quietly over time, becomes a life. So pause, breathe, feel the gravity of this moment. You are not who you were, and that is a beautiful thing, not because the past was wrong, but because you are finally right with yourself. There will be more lessons, more beginnings, more losses, more light, but you are ready, not because the road ahead is easy, but because you now carry the wisdom of every step that brought you here. So step into this new year, not with pressure, but with peace, not with fear, but with faith, and let every day be a quiet, powerful act of becoming. This is not just another year. This is the year you remember who you are, and that changes everything.